Hey, what's up, you guys? SlayBuddhaFX here, back with another video, man. So today what we're gonna be doing. Oh, I thought it wasn't recording. So anyway, today what we're gonna be doing, we're going to be breaking down the EURUSD sell that we had some around here on this 4-hour candle. But what we're gonna do, and what we always do, is start from the higher time frame. So we're gonna start from the daily because there's a few things that we need to talk about before we even before we even go to the setup. So yeah, so as you can see here on the weekly, right, what I would have preferred on EURUSD before I would consider any buys was that fine, we had this break of structure. Stop point doesn't really matter at this point. It's way too far for me to even have it in what's that come on, man, hurry up, to be worried too much about buying or looking to see a lower low from here. So fine, what I would have preferred before looking for buys, at least we should have tapped this high here, but we don't really have to tap it. What I saw from there, which led me to decide to look for buys before the sell that we're going to discuss here, because my overall bias right now is a bit bullish, but then I'm also considering seeing price trading a bit lower. So I'd say I'm neutral on EURUSD at the moment. So I'm going to pay attention on the lower time frames here just to see whether the bias, the bullish bias, will be respected or not. So we can see here we took out this previous lows, this two lows here, which we traded away from them for a very long time. So what I'm expecting, or my thoughts about these lows, is that there was liquidity resting here, so we took it out. So once we see a buy setup here, once we see something like this, then that's when we'll be interested in looking for buys in here. So the first target would probably be here, because what it could do, because you also need to be objective when you're making your analysis. So what it could do, it could respect the buy setup and come in this zone here. Not come in, I mean come into the zone, right, and then we sell off. That's a possibility, because the current structure here, or the current moves that we see on EURUSD, is that it could have easily made this high here as inducement for that potential down move, right, for the potential down move which we could possibly see. But then fine, today we took a sell here on EURUSD. So let's go to the daily and break down what led to the sell, right, what led to the sell, and what my overall targets on EURUSD, or where my overall targets on EURUSD are for the sell, right. So you can see here we took out those weekly equal lows right there, and then we took this low out, we took this one out here as well, we broke the structure here and also here. That's the first thing that you need to have in mind, right. So secondly, we can see we have this down candle here, which is a potential demand level, and we have this inducement here. That's all you need. So from here, my bias is bullish on a daily time frame, short term bearish into the buy zone on a daily, right. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I didn't say too many things which are confusing. So on the daily here, we're looking to see price push higher, and then short term, hold on, short term, we're looking for down moves, right, into this buy zone. So fine, we're not interested in looking for buys yet, we're just interested in discussing the reason why we sold. And even this daily plays a part in the reason why we sold. So when we go to the 4-hour, we can see here on the 4-hour that we have these highs here, right? And we're going to talk about them in a few minutes. I'm having a headache. I don't know why. Do you know those sayings where they say if your hand is itching, it means you're gonna get money? So my head is aching. Crazy dude. Anyway, so you can see here we have these highs here, right? And if we do the session breaks here, we can see the week started where? Let's see, today's Tuesday, this is Monday, right? So the week started here on Monday, and hold on. Yes, yeah. What we did, this was the previous weeks, right? This is Monday, this is Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, another previous Monday. So we didn't take out the previous week's high. We didn't take out Thursday. This is one. Yeah, we didn't take out Thursday, but we respected the trend line. So do you honestly believe that the market would respect this trend line for a very long time? Well, in my regard, I don't believe it would do that, but it can, right? But in my regard, in the way that I look at liquidity, I'm seeing this as a potential liquidity here, which the market can then later on use, because it does not usually offer easy trade setups like these without having to trick people in a certain trade, right? It only did this just to take out this liquidity here, right? And then after we took out that liquidity, I'm expecting it to trade a bit lower into the zone right here to possibly respect the buy setup which I had from last week around this zone. So I'm just gonna mark out this down candle as a potential buy level, right? Up to trade above this area right here. And we're gonna couple that with the news that we can potentially have during the week. So you need to pay attention to the news as well in order for you to know which day you should trade. So if, let's say, for me, in my regard, if let's say today I only saw this, I didn't take the sell, I would obviously just wait for, let's say the news are on Thursday, I would wait for Thursday to look for my setup, regardless of whether it trades into the zone right here, regardless of whether it trades in here on Wednesday. I would wait for my setup on Thursday and then take it on Thursday if there were news on Thursday, like high impact news. So let's focus, let's get back to the sells. So as you can see here, we engineered this liquidity here for the move that we're expecting to trade higher, but then we already have this inducement here which we need to see before the up move. So we took the sell somewhere around here, right? So what led to the sell? Let's open the period separators right now. So you can see this is Tuesday, right? Today's Tuesday. We had this high here on Friday, on Monday, which we made. We took it out, right? We took out this high. And if you check our Asian ranges, we have our Asian range here, and then we traded above the Asian range. Not really sure if we did trade above, like with one standard deviation, but if we did, it would have been great. Almost one standard deviation, but we didn't do that, so fine. After we traded above the Asian range, we traded into this hidden supply area here. All right, we traded in there, and that was the first reasoning for us to start looking for shorts. That was the first reasoning for shorts. We saw the structure here, and we had a higher time frame reason to trade lower, right? So the first targets obviously have to be at the low where the retracement started from, right? this retracement of this previous move started here, right? And then we obviously have this low here, which we need to trade below in order for us to see a break of structure on a higher time frame. So fine, we saw that we traded above the Asian range into this hidden supply area here. So this time frame is not a time frame for entry. So we're just gonna scale down to the M30 right now just to see whether we can see anything which can pique our interest. So right here we don't see anything. We don't see anything still, but we can see that there's still a room for us to do our refinements here. We can still refine this zone. So we now go to the M15. So on the M15 still we don't see anything, but it's fine because we already have a reason why we would want to see a sell, right? We traded into a higher time frame POI. Now we need to wait for a lower time frame POI. Lower time frame setup. We need to wait for a lower time frame setup in order for us to start looking for shorts. So you can see here we don't really have anything which would give us a reason to sell. We go to the M5. So on the M5, right, I refined this level up until the zone here, right? I'm not interested in selling at this candle because there's no reason for me to sell here. This to me, just like the lessons that on AKFX YouTube channel, you can see this is a weak high in my regard, based on how I understood what he mentioned in his videos. Like, this is a weak high because it did not create any stop hunt. So if you were to sell at this candle here, this was a high risk sell because this area we could have looked at it as liquidity. The market could have easily took these highs out and then gave a proper sell setup afterwards. So we just wait for it to react at this level, which it did from here. And what we saw was that we had this small stop hunt there, right there. This small stop hunt there, break of structure, inducement right here. So I just want to give you a free lesson about entries, right? A free lesson about entries, because what most people don't understand about over refinement is what I'm going to try to clarify for you here on this portion of the video, right? So with over refinement, right? Over refinement is when you try to get in at the exact high, or try to, like, how can I explain it though? Like, you're trying to chase perfection all the time, which isn't good. So fine, let's talk about the potential entry that you could have missed, or some people obviously could have actually missed this entry right here. And the reason for missing this entry is because they wanted to sell when this imbalance was closed. So why did I sell from here? Why did I sell right here? That's the question that you need to ask yourself. So whenever I take a trade, whenever I look for a setup, I always have a standard stop loss based on the pair which I'm trading. So on EURUSD, my standard stop loss, like, minimum has to be 5 pips, right? If I get a 3 pip SL, that's okay, right? But then, like, my standard stop loss on EURUSD is in between 10 to 5 pips, 5 to 10 pips, right? So if I was to say I'm looking for a sell, like, this is the sell setup on the M5, right? If I was to say, fine, I'm gonna look for a sell here, we already have an inducement here, so obviously price has to come back here. Price doesn't really have to come back here. That's one thing you need to understand. And if I had to look at my standard stop loss and the setup, this is 1 pip as well. So for me, this is not logical for taking trades, right? If my standard stop loss is 5 pips, then I have this high here and I wanted to take an entry here, but there's a likelihood that it can easily take out this high and not even trade back here. I can easily just adjust my entry to this high, right? To this high. It's still within 5 pips, so you don't lose anything for doing that. You don't lose anything. Then I'm in the trade. If it does come back here, it doesn't really matter. I'm still within my risk threshold. So that's one thing you need to understand about over refinement. Like you don't need to over refine up until the exact entry. You just need to know what's your standard stop loss in order for you to be able to take your entries based on your standard stop loss and based on the setup, in order for you not to just make the setup and end up missing it because you're trying to take the trade at the actual high, right? You can take them at times, but you don't really need to do that. It's not really conservative at times. So yeah, you just need to work with what is good for you long term. So back to the M15. Oh yeah, before I go there, I just want to show you what led me to even take the trade at right here. So since we traded into that previous supply zone right there, we had this level here where we created this imbalance, and I'll mark it out in purple and increase the pixels here. We had this imbalance which we created here, so you can see price came back and tapped that imbalance. So my entry was there exactly at the low of the imbalance, and then the stop loss was here. Then my targets were at the previous low here. First targets, which was 1:11 or 1:7.5, not really sure. I'll confirm that. 1:8. So from here, then traded low, continued trading low right around here. So this is 1:11. That's the maximum it went based on the setup. So hopefully this has been insightful for you guys, and yeah, with all that said, I'm out. Peace. Was it recording though? Was it recording? Yeah, it was. Peace. Stop.